Darren Leslie here with my review of Man of Steel. Man of Steel was the reboot of the Superman franchise after the lukewarm reception of Superman Returns. It is directed by the visual genius known as Zack Snyder, and is written by the guy who brought us Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance and Blade Trinity, David S. Goyer. It stars Henry Cavill in the title role as Superman Clark Kent. Now, before I get into the plot, before I go into anything else about this movie, I wanted to talk about the greatest achievement this movie makes, point blank period. The music. The music in this film is phenomenal. It's 68% of the reason this movie works. I just made that up, but it's 68%. It's the soul that drives this picture. It perfectly floats over the scene, and it makes the action so much grander to watch. Zod and Superman's battles have so much more umph to it due to Hans Zimmer's amazing score. Now with all the Hans Zimmer praising out of the way, and also Junkie XL, now onto the plot. The movie starts out on Krypton and it follows a non-linear story path similar to Batman Begins. I love this movie's take on Krypton. It's very alien and I really appreciate that. The technology is interesting. They don't use screens or holograms. They use this texture-like material. The planet feels nothing like Earth. It's almost like Earth gone wrong in a way. We see the birth of Kal and the coup on Krypton led by General Zod and his forces. We're really kind of thrown into all this. We see the birth happening, we see Jor-El pleading to the council, and then Zod attacks. It all explodes in your face, sometimes literally. While the battle on Krypton is a giant visual feast with lasers and explosions, I would have liked to see a little more insight on what exactly is going on during these battles. Why should we care? I didn't really get the global scale of what was going on. The planet is at war. The planet is being sieged. Let's see it, not just a bunch of faceless ships and soldiers. The same goes for Jor-El and Zod. They have a history together apparently, but I don't always feel the weight to it. Though, Jor-El versus Zod is awesome. I love seeing Jor-El kick Zod's ass. He literally sweeps the floor with him. It was kind of like Snyder giving us a little taste of his Batman. Seeing a father do whatever he can to protect his son is great. It's awesome. It's awe-inspiring. However, how does a scientist fight a general? Anyway, Kal is sent to our planet to live amongst our seemingly intelligent people. Why are we always so primitive in sci-fi movies? Earth is always like at the bottom of the barrel. When we get to Earth, we continue that in a non-linear path, seeing Clark as a child and an adult. Seeing him discover and use his powers for the first time, seeing him experience his X-ray vision for the first time, it's horrifying yet fascinating. You really feel that he's an outcast in this film. Though in the last flashback, I would have liked to see Clark lash out a little bit. Him having to face the consequences of hitting somebody with his strength, and then him having to control that anger and that strength continuing to manhood would have been great. Because Clark does, in his adulthood, have a handle of his temper. The reveal of Superman's arrival on Earth is also a great scene. Jonathan Kent having to tell this kid that he's not his son, that Jonathan's not his father, that Clark's from another planet with another family. The way Costner delivers this scene is fantastic. From Cavill to Adams to Maloney to Costner, they all really bring their game to this picture. I love Henry Cavill's performance as Superman. Actually, this guy is Superman. Whenever I pick up a magazine or I'm surfing the web and I run across a picture of Henry Cavill, I pause for a second and I say, that's Superman. The guy's friggin' Superman. The way he plays it, it's great. He's intimidating yet kind. He shows absolute power but yet a vulnerability trying to fit in with us. And also trying to find his place in the world. The first time Clark really smiles in this film is when he finally figures out who he is and he's flying through the skies. He really does bring Superman to life, and he does Superman things throughout the film. The choice for Superman to turn himself into humanity or to leave his handcuffs on is something I feel like is ripped out of a great graphic novel. Supes does things by the books, and he wants to make sure everyone feels safe. I also love Amy Adams' portrayal as Lois Lane. She perfectly captures her energy and spunk. She'll do anything to get a story, and she also falls back on journalistic integrity to protect Clark in the face of an alien invasion. Their chemistry throughout the film is something I always question, but I kind of do see why Lois and Clark got together in the end. Ayelet Zurer is also a great Laura. I really wish she had more to do in the film. When she's holding Clark and delivering her lines, it's heartbreaking. She really did a good job displaying her motherhood and her sadness of never really getting to see her son walk or talk. Never getting to see her son grow up. Kevin Costner's portrayal as Jonathan Kidd is great as well, as long as Diane Lane as Martha Kent. She is the perfect Martha Kent, by the way. When she first sees Clark and his new duds, she doesn't react in some crazy type of a way. He just walks up to him, gives him a hug, and says, "Nice suit, son." I love that. I love that dynamic between them. She never sees him as something weird or an oddity. She's his son. He's her son. My favorite character out of Man of Steel overall, though, is Faora. I love Faora, even though her dialogue when she first shows up is questionable. The way she moves, her silent back and forth between General Hardy, and her presence as a threat against Superman always wins me over. To me, she's the real villain of Man of Steel. It's just unfortunate that we'll never really see an appropriate adaptation of Superman's main cast. Steve Vunbar, Cat Grant, Lana Lang, Pete Ross, and Jimmy Olsen. And some of them are in this movie, but that ain't really them. Superman has a cast of characters other than Lois Lane that could work on the big screen. And I'd like to see them one day in that respective format. The film itself has a very kinetic feel to it. It's a very different feel from what we've seen from Snyder before. There's no slow-mo, no speed-ups. While this is arguably one of the most beautiful superhero movies ever made, I do feel like Zack Snyder may have been partially mimicking someone else's style while making this film. I'm glad he's gone back to that in BVS and he's brought Larry Fong back with him to do so. The fights in this film are marvelous. Say what you will about the destruction, which we will get to. But the battles in this film are unlike anything you've seen before. How these Titans interact on the battlefield is mesmerizing. And you can't help but be entertained when Superman punches a guy into a train. Or when he punches a guy across a city. Superman, in this, he punches a guy across a city. Okay, so check this out. He flies to him, he dodges, he kicks him, and then hits him like that, and then goes to another one, hits him again. The first hour and 50 minutes of Man of Steel are actually quite magnificent. It shows a man struggling to find out who he really is and what happens when he does. The fights are great, Superman's first flight is fun. There is an actual hint of fun to this movie. I wouldn't have said that 3 years ago. I used to be one of those people who really thought Man of Steel was a dark film, but giving it another rewatch is actually not as dark. It is still a tad bit dark, but it's not as dark as people say. I still have my negatives about the first hour and 50 minutes. Still could have used a little bit more character moments. Like, why exactly is Clark a wanderer? If they introduce elements like him tracking down strange events to figure out exactly how strange he is, trying to find some type of connection, I would have bought into that a little bit more. They could have also introduced Clark's reporting personnel that way as well. It would make more sense why he's hired for the Daily Planet. Also, Superman going to a priest instead of his father, who probably knows it. Well, actually, he does know how to be Zod. He tells Lois. And the Christ imagery. Look, I have had this problem since Superman Returns. We get it. We as an audience, I am pretty sure we get it. We get that. We get the similarities between the two. We get it. Please stop beating it over our heads. Please. Subtlety is a marvelous thing. Superman leaving Lois to die. Why is Superman's suit on a 20,000-year-old ship? And why is it blue when everyone else's is black? How does he shave? And Jonathan's death. Look, I understand what they were doing and what they were trying to say. But you should have let Clark run in there. People have survived crazier things than a tornado. You guys have been making up lies for Clark for years. It's time to make up a new one with the tornado. Jonathan's death is one of those things I could have done with or without. It doesn't really change the film for me, or Superman's mythos at all. Jonathan Kent being there when Superman helps the story. Jonathan Kent not being there when Superman becomes Superman helps the story. Well, either way, it's fine. It doesn't affect me either way. But if you do kill Jonathan Kent, I still like the heart attack angle. It provides... Superman can save people from a tornado, but he can't save you if you're having a heart attack. All that power, and he can't stop something as simple as that. That says something more than I'm being sucked away by a tornado. Now, the majority of my problems with this film lies in the last 30 minutes. So Zod decides to terraform Earth, and it's up to Superman and the military to stop him. And there it starts to fall apart around that point. The dialogue suffers, previous character interactions are kind of thrown out the window. Does he like her now? And the military is once again displayed as idiots in a sci-fi film. When they're shooting the Black Zero, Zod's craft, missiles start flying off of the ship into the streets, killing civilians. And they keep on shooting. Look, if it doesn't work the first 10 times, it's not going to work the next 30. Constantly shooting the Black Zero is causing more harm than good. It puts a group of our main characters that we kind of barely know in danger, and it also gets in the way of Bruce Wayne. The Superman versus Squid Monster fight it's kind of unnecessary. You already have this massive battle coming up, and you also have a massive battle going on in Metropolis. You don't have to show another. The atmosphere is already corrupting Clark's powers. That's a battle within itself. Having Clark have them march up to the gravity beam to the world engine with little to no powers would have been great physical conflict for Clark. It would have also been emotional conflict as well. Imagine if Superman used his hearing to tune into what was happening to the people of Metropolis. He hears the screams of thousands, the buildings crumbling, the Black Zero tearing the city apart. And he uses that to push forward to destroy the world engine. The destruction of Metropolis was also a controversial subject when the film came out as well. I somewhat understand the film's reason for displaying the destruction as they did. Terraforming is a violent process in this universe. Of course, it would have violent results. But they could have strayed away from emulating 9/11, and you don't have to knock down every building in sight. I feel like most of the destruction in Man of Steel would have been forgiven if Superman, when he finally lands in Metropolis, just took a moment to look around. I mean, the guy is standing in Hiroshima, and he inadvertently dropped the bomb. The Kryptonians would not have come here if you didn't go on your scout ship, if you didn't inadvertently alert them to Earth. Take a moment and mourn for the dead. It's what Superman would do, especially one who surrendered to humanity. Because at the end of the day, humanity paid the price. And the fight between Zod and Superman loses tension once they start flying. It goes from a somewhat choreographed fight to two people throwing themselves into objects with neither of them showing damage or exhaustion. Neither of them are getting hurt. Where are the stakes? But the most jarring thing amongst fans in this film is when Superman kills Zod. Do I think it was for shock value? Yes. Do I agree with it? No. But that is the direction they decided to take this character. And as we know, it's leading to some interesting story material. But my problem with Zod's death isn't Zod's death. It isn't the killing of Zod. It's that after Zod's death, the movie acts like it never happened. The movie turns into a completely different animal. And therein lies my problem with Man of Steel. Now, what I'm about to go into, take BVS out of it. Take what we know about Batman v Superman out of it. I'm looking at Man of Steel as a film on its own. A film from beginning to end, not the beginning of a franchise. After Zod's death, tongue-in-cheek humor is thrown in. The tone is a bit lighter, and Metropolis is apparently rebuilt. The Daily Planet's open for business. Didn't a building not drop a few feet away from there? This film does something so shocking, so monumental to the characters we've been introduced to, and they don't follow through with any of that? Aliens invaded the planet and brought havoc on a global scale. Nothing? How does the world, not the military, how the military reacted to Superman in this film is how the military react to a floating man. But how does the world react to Superman? Nothing. Characters we met died in this film. Funeral? Passing mention? Nothing? This is some rich material to go into at the end of your movie. No, you don't have to cover all of it. Yes, you can save some of it for a sequel, especially in a franchise like this. This movie is set up to be a start of a franchise. But it's still a movie. Self-contained story. You can't just ignore that these things happened, which I feel like this movie did. It feels like the death of thousands and the extinction of the alien race had no weight or meaning. It just happened. That was Tuesday. Yes, Batman v Superman, we're dealing with all that, hopefully. But looking at this movie on its own, to its own merit, it should have gone into those things. I'm not saying they couldn't have ended the movie the way it did. I didn't need the movie to end on a somber note. But in between the... and the...
I just think he's kind of hot.
Get in the car, Captain.
Yes,
I think there should have been some wrap-up of events prior. Show us, give us at least a hint, something. Show us how the world reacted to the arrival of Superman and to the arrival of Zod's forces. A section of the city is gone, thousands dead. Don't sweep that under the rug for a you save the day ending. I'm tired of movies doing that. I'm tired of movies showing that our heroes save the day, but then in the next movie, then it's just like, oh no, you didn't. Thousands are dead. You caused $1 billion of damage. You need to be put in check. This and that. Like, stop doing that. Deal with your repercussions in your film. You don't have to deal with all of them, but make sure we know that they are there. That our heroes didn't get away clean. They didn't get away scratch-free. And how the hell did he become a reporter? Nitpicking, but come on. Overall, Man of Steel is not a perfect film, but it is an entertaining superhero film. It reintroduces Superman to a modern audience, and it creates a bridge for future movies. I had a lot of fun revisiting this film, and revisiting this character that I do think they got right, especially with the new film around the corner. Speaking of which, my review of Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice will be up Thursday morning. I cannot wait for that film. It looks spectacular. I'm really happy that DC is finally getting into the superhero universe game. I cannot wait. So with all that said, have you seen Man of Steel? Please let me know if you have in the comments below. What did you think about it? If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you like hearing me talk about movies, please hit that subscribe button and come join the conversation. Also wanted to plug another thing I'll be working on. It's called Measured Minor. It's an entertainment website a couple of friends of mine have started. On Measured Minor, we'll be talking about movie reviews, news, and even talking about music. So come on over and check it out. I'll make sure to be leaving a link below. The site's still work in progress, so please do excuse the mess, but it is something we are really passionate about, and we really wanted to share with you guys. There are already 2 articles up that you guys can check out over there. So with all that said, I'm Darren Lacey Jr. I hope you enjoyed this review, and please look out for my Batman v Superman review coming out this Thursday. Check you guys later.